Today I'm diving around the island of Maui looking for venomous sea creatures, in particular this invasive sea star, and one wrong move can land me in the hospital. What's going on, guys? Today I'm here on the beautiful island of Maui here in Hawaii at a spot called Black Rock, where I'm going to be attempting to free handle a venomous sea star underneath the surface. And today I'm geared up with my Nomad, which allows me to dive down to 30 feet without the need of renting a scuba tank, which is super nice. But basically today I'm going to head around the back side of that rock and I'm going to look for a venomous sea star to free handle. Okay, but it is an absolutely beautiful day today. Let's get geared up and see what we can find out there. Okay, all geared up, it's ready to go, but now we gotta make a long swim. The Hawaiian coastline is incredibly unique. The volcanic structures, lava tubes, and insane drop-offs create the perfect environment for slow-moving sea creatures to thrive, like the sea urchin and sea star. After making my nearly quarter-of-a-mile swim with all of my gear, passing some sea turtles along the way, I descended into the water column and started my journey. Right off the bat, I was met with 100-foot visibility and an abundance of marine life. Trumpet fish, needlefish, and sea turtles were everywhere. The reef was pretty healthy too, which I love to see, and that means I had the perfect location to find my target species. I did pass a bunch of sea urchins everywhere I went. Most people don't know or realize that sea urchins are almost always moving around, and you can see that on display right here with this individual. Like I said earlier, Hawaii's coastline has some intense drop-offs, which you can see right here. This wall is massive, stretching over 30 feet in height. Off to my left was the wide open ocean too, which is a great place to see deep water animals like spotted eagle rays. This is probably my favorite ray species. They're just so beautiful. My first venomous find was this right here. This is called a collector urchin, and are fairly common here in Hawaii. They are a type of urchin, which of course means they have sharp spikes all around their bodies, and although small, without gloves this would be very hard to do. The venom of the collector urchin is incredibly mild, but this still makes for a great first feature animal of the dive. This right here is called a pincushion sea star, and it's one of the most alien looking sea stars I've ever seen. Typically they have more vibrant colors like orange and yellow and can grow to twice this size, but yet again this is another cool find on the dive. The biodiversity along this cliffside is just insane. Porcupine fish, big eels, and massive schools of reef fish were all around me. It really was like diving in a real life aquarium. However, after 30 minutes of searching, I finally found my target species, the Crown-Of-Thorns sea star. As you can see, they're not always the easiest to spot on the reef. They can blend in pretty well. And once I got my camera all set up and ready to go, I made sure my gloves were on right, and it was time to handle this venomous sea star. I have seen a handful of these sea stars in my life, which means I know that they can grow to almost 3 times this size. But I would say this is about an average sized Crown-Of-Thorns. They are an invasive species here in Hawaii, originating from the South Pacific Ocean around Indonesia. It's still pretty much a mystery as to how they were introduced to the waters around Hawaii, but the pet trade is the most likely reason. The Crown-Of-Thorns is also extremely harmful to the reef because they literally eat it. This leaves behind dead coral, so if you're ever diving in Hawaii and see a trail of white coral heads, it's likely that a Crown-Of-Thorns is nearby. Now, this maneuver is not something I would want to do underwater without gloves on. The spikes on the Crown-Of-Thorns are like hypodermic needles, and packed inside is a cytotoxic venom that would leave me in a world of pain. Most stings from this sea star come from people accidentally stepping on one in shallow water, which often lands them in the hospital for a day or two. So like I said earlier, the sting from the Crown-Of-Thorns is absolutely no joke. Now, this isn't considered a deadly species, but it's never something you want to mess with in the wild. Not many people out there can say that they have successfully held a venomous sea star, let alone the Crown-Of-Thorns, which makes today's mission an absolute success. Many times these sea stars are removed on site due to how destructive they are to the reef, but I did not have the proper equipment with me on this trip, so I gently put it back down on the rocks and continued on with my dive. Remember when I said pincushion sea stars can get bigger and brighter? Well, check out this guy. This thing is so alien looking, and the vibrant orange and yellow colors make it so incredibly beautiful. I also also found this Fisher's sea star hiding in the rocks. This is yet another beautiful species and completely harmless if touched. On my way back, I stopped a few times just to take in the beauty of this dive site. With the perfect lighting, insane visibility, and abundance of marine life, yeah, it pretty much doesn't get any better than this. I did, however, find one of the largest black-spined sea urchins I have ever seen. I was going to demonstrate how they move their spines around when I accidentally took a sting. Yep. This one did hurt, but not quite as bad as you might be thinking. After an hour or so, the pain did go away, which is in part because I barely got nicked. Lesson learned though, do not mess with sea urchins if you don't have to. Oh, I can actually feel it. Ooh. At this point, I was well over an hour into my dive and my Nomad battery was running low. I slowly glided over the smooth, sandy ocean floor, passing a few sea turtles along the way, before eventually reaching the shoreline and packing all of my gear up. Today's adventure was an epic one, as we got up close with Hawaii's unique sea star and sea urchin species, and I got to explore one of the best dive sites that I've ever been to. Altogether, I think that today's adventure proved that Hawaii's marine ecosystems are full of fascinating creatures at every turn.